and he did away with all the blood sacrifices. As he was the perfect sacrifice, he became the perfect sacrifice. And so what you have going on today with these kinds of teachings is if they can get you to believe that some violent, bloodthirsty God of the Old Testament, and they paint him horribly, and they say it wasn't him, that it was Baal, that it was Ildarbaoth, and these other different names for him. Basically, that the whole thing about sacrifices in the Old Testament was from Satan and not the Lord. And that's not true, because what does that teaching do? It takes away the fact that Jesus' death was the ultimate sacrifice for mankind. And like I said, every time there's an error, every time there's a great deception coming, because it's always taking away something about what the Lord did or who he was or who he is. It always takes away from something. And so you have to be careful. You have to sit back and look when you're studying things to not throw out the baby with the bathwater here. Don't throw out your faith instead of accepting errors. Don't throw out fundamentals of our faith. Yes, the Pharisees and the scribes, they perverted things that Moses said, and they put a lot of legalisms onto the Jewish religion, and so they perverted things. They took things and ran with them for the mile and perverted them. And we have that today in our own religions, our own Protestant denominations, our own Catholicism, our own religions all over the world, where things where there's half-truths, and then you have things that are taken and ran with for a mile and perverted. And so that's what they did. That's what the scribes and the Pharisees just perverted and took for a mile and slapped on a bunch of legalisms and false teachings on top of the ones that Moses gave us. That doesn't negate all of the laws of Deuteronomy and Leviticus and the commandments of Exodus. It does not negate any of the laws that the Lord gave us. It just means that there are interpretations about them now that are wrong. And when Jesus was here and he walked the earth, he made a show of it to all of them. Loved pointing out their legalisms and inaccuracies and how they interpreted Moses and the laws. And that's what he did, and that's why they hated him. That's why they wanted to get rid of him. Because the scribes and Pharisees were the self-prescribed gurus of the Torah at that time, of Moses' laws, of the laws of the Old Testament. And, when Jesus came and spoke by great authority, people were amazed by him, and proved and showed them where they were wrong. Of course, they didn't like it. They didn't like being told that they were wrong or showed up by somebody else. There's scriptures all through the Bible that referred to sacrificing or the altar. In Matthew 5:23, it says, Jesus is talking to somebody, and he says, "Therefore, as thou bring thy gift to the altar, and then rememberest that thy brother hath anything against thee, leave there thy gift before the altar, and go thy way. First be reconciled to thy brother, and then come and offer thy gift." He's talking about bringing gifts to the altar. When he healed a leper in Matthew 8:4, he says, "See thou tell no man, but go thy way, show thyself to the priest, and offer the gift that Moses commanded for a testimony unto them." He's telling them to offer the gift that Moses commanded. They had certain requirements of sacrificing certain things to the altar for different reasons. Jesus didn't negate all of that. And in fact, he was working right in alignment with the same things that Moses taught. So you can't throw out this whole thing and saying that all sacrifices and any mention of sacrifices and altars in the Old Testament is wrong. And I've heard that one, and it's going to come. It's going to get more known and known, because they have to take away the blood sacrifice of the Lord. The whole purpose for him on the cross is our redemption and our salvation. And that's what that whole teaching will do. Again, it reminds us in Matthew 7 that not everyone that saith unto me, Lord, Lord, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven, but he that doeth the will of my Father which is in heaven. Many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in thy name? And in thy name have we cast out devils, and in thy name done many wonderful works? And then will I profess unto them, I never knew you. Depart from me, ye that work iniquity. Their workings, their miracles, their prophecies were not from the Lord. They were from the devil. It's what he calls iniquity. Ye that work iniquity. They are working in the power of the devil. And they weren't working in his power. Another thing just got into that, is that the scribes and Pharisees of that time, it was clear that Jesus was leading the people away from their teachings and away from the apostasy of the synagogues of that day, because that's where the apostasy was dominantly taught. That's where the scribes and Pharisees were hung out at, in the meeting places of the people. And back then it was the synagogues. They met in the synagogues. And today, what do we have, folks? We have the churches. You know, can you imagine the field day he would have just walking through our churches, one after the other, today? You know, but it's the same thing. That's where apostasy is abounding. That's where apostasy abounds. And so many people put their faith in the pastor or the leader of their churches today, because they, you know, it's everybody else. It's not them. It's everybody else. Everybody sitting in a church today or a denomination today believes that they're the right ones and everybody else is wrong. And that's just the way it is. Everybody believes they found the right one. They're in the right one, and everybody else is wrong. You know, and the Lord says we all have errors. All of us, we all have errors. Nobody has it all right. But the difference being that those who truly love Him and follow Him are seeking after Him daily for the truth. They're not, you know, we know that we don't have all of the knowledge, but we know that we can get it. And you'll get it if you seek Him. He will reveal the truth in all things to you. And it's a process. It's not something that He gives any one person at any one time. In fact, I don't know anybody that has all of it. That has all of it. You know, there's pieces, and He can work with you, and He can give you pieces to the puzzle, and strip you of all the errors that you're in, and start giving you the truth of all of His teachings. But you have to seek Him on it. You know, in Matthew 11:6, He said, "Blessed is he whosoever shall not be offended in me." You know, I just get floored because it's like, who could be offended in the Lord? I mean, who could? I know many are. I mean, I deal with Him every day, but I you know, it just floors me. Who could be offended by Him? You know, in Matthew 10, Jesus sends His disciples out to preach to the lost house of Israel. And this chapter mimics a lot of Matthew chapter 24, and He gives us the conditions of apostleship, of discipleship. And I thought it was wild because so many people just think that when they come to the Lord and they start this, you know, brand new experience with Him, that all of a sudden their lives are going to become a garden full of roses. That everything, He's the give me God. The churches paint Him as a give me God. That all they have to do is come to Him, accept His redemption, His salvation, and all of a sudden they're going to have anything they want. And that's, you know what? As soon as you're saved, as soon as you accept it, you have maybe a day of peace before Satan comes to try to take that away from you. You know, he tries to steal your joy, your happiness, your peace.
Sherry?
Yeah.
You have Mark on the line when you're ready.
Okay, go ahead and put him on.
You're up, Mark.
Hello, Sherry. It's Mark from Sacramento.
Hey, Mark. How you doing?
Hey, we spoke a couple of weeks ago. I'm doing good. So much to talk about. Let's see. Where do you want to begin? I have so many things. The holidays are coming up. You know, I studied those and, you know, the pagan foundation of those. I know you weren't talking about that tonight, but, I mean, so many people are wrapped up in you know, Halloween already.
Yeah.
Christians.
Yeah, they take compromise.
Come on.
Yeah.
Satanist holiday. But that's just one small point. Where do I begin? I wish I could take you to lunch and just, you know, talk to you for like 3 hours, but I know you don't have that much time. But I guess the biggest thing that gets to me, for me seeing so much and you seeing so much of what's going on, because it's like right in our faces. There's so much evidence of it. I try to talk to Christian people, and they just refuse to use any logic. They refuse to check it out for themselves. They refuse to take the time to discern the different things that are going on.
Yeah, because they're cozy in their beliefs. Their churches or pastors don't deal with this. They don't think they should have to.
Yeah, well, you're absolutely right about that. I guess my point is, for you, I mean, you would have to know that, you know, the average Christian who just goes to church and listens to the pastor every Sunday, they're probably not the ones that are listening to you.
This is true.